Hi everyone, welcome to a Keating Chambers discussion of life in chambers. This is going out both as a video recording and a podcast, so this is a warning to my lovely colleagues not to pick your noses or misbehave in any other way, thinking that you're off camera. I'm Lucy Garrett QC, head of the Pupillage Committee in Chambers. I took Silk in 2018, so I like to think of myself as young and dynamic, and I'm going to get everyone else to introduce themselves now. Charlie, do you want to go first?
Hello, I'm Charlie Thompson. I'm a barrister, 2012 call, and I once ate a kilogram of cheese in one sitting.
Simon?
I'm not sure how to follow that. I started in Chambers in 1992, so I've been here for 28 years. I became a QC in 2009. I've been doing that for a little while as well. I'm very fond of kebabs, but I don't know whether that helps or not.
Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Donnelly. I am a pupil at Keating, and I was called last Friday.
Congratulations.
It finally happened. Thank you.
And Marie.
So I'm Marie Sparkes. I'm the BD and Marketing Manager at Keating. I've been here for 5 years.
Thank you, Marie. So the first question is going to be, Simon, what is your favourite thing about our area of work?
I enjoy meeting with my clients. They're always jolly nice because they pay the bills. But I also enjoy actually meeting with experts and the people who construct all the marvellous things that they make on the ground. So, for example, I've been involved in cases of concerning nuclear decontamination, tunnels, subsea engineering and oil recovery, trains, tunnels for trains, collapsing tunnels for trains, bogies for trains, hospitals and all the like. And what's really fascinating about doing our work is that where a case develops and heads towards dispute, trial or arbitration, you get the opportunity of meeting these people, and what you end up doing is learning a little bit about their own jobs, how they do their jobs, but above all, you learning about science, engineering, and the application of technology to our built environment, and it is really fascinating. And I it's like having a sort of lesson or a tutorial or whatever. A few times a week when you meet with these experts and with your specialist clients. So I really enjoy that.
I was going to ask, Simon, you don't have a background in engineering or science yourself, do you? Because I think sometimes when candidates talk to us, they worry that they have to have a technical background to sort of understand that sort of dispute.
No, I have no background in any of that. I did arts, A levels, and I did a law degree. And it's not even necessary to have a law degree to join Chambers. You can do the conversion course. So no, you need to be on the ball and you need to be willing to take lessons from these experts. But if you're open to that, you can do it without such qualifications.
Elizabeth, I'm going to go from one extreme to the other. What's your favourite thing so far?
I suppose Simon has touched on all the key aspects that attracted me mostly to applying to a set like Keating to start with. I think in the 3 months I've been doing this, I would say that I've particularly enjoyed how accessible these areas are when you come at them from a legal perspective, how it's not a very opaque jungle of scientific and engineering confusion. That there is a process by which you approach it, first through a contract, and you have all the tools that you need to approach it from a legal perspective, and then that's when you can start to look at expert reports, have meeting with clients who have the expertise.
Yeah, you drill down, don't you, into
that's when you start
the relevant point. Yeah.
And it's fun, and every case I've done so far with my supervisor is so different. And like Simon, I have an arts background. I did 3 languages at A level, and then a languages degree, and then the conversion course. And it's, so far, I'm not feeling too completely overwhelmed by the engineering and the bricks.
Charlie, what about you?
I think it's probably a mixture of what Simon and Elizabeth have both said. It's the scale of the projects that we deal with is quite extraordinary at times. I don't want you to think there's a theme in my interests, but just by way of example, one project about the construction of oil rigs, a project for which they need 100,000 eggs a day just to feed the people that are putting it up.
There is a theme. It's a sort of dairy theme.
It is a dairy theme. It is a dairy theme. Although I am a vegan, and which is true. But also, I think the uniting theme behind a lot of what we do ends up being a contract. Obviously, we do lots of sort of diverse work about different projects all over the world, but you tend to come onto the scene with a large contract that you've got to look at and apply to what you've seen, even though the parties didn't apply it necessarily with the contractual provisions in mind at the time of the project. And that's a kind of interesting coming onto the scene as a detective after everything's happened. And I enjoy that process too.
And that sort of takes me quite neatly onto my next question, which is going to be about career development. And I think people watching and listening will know that Chambers does a lot of international arbitration as well as UK High Court and Appellate Court work. And I try to do about 50-50 High Court and international arbitration. That's my sort of preferred balance. If I can achieve it perfectly one day, that'll be nice, because it's a different kind of skill. People in Chambers develop their careers in different ways in different areas. So I was going to ask you first about how you've developed your practice and have you got a particular focus area, arbitration versus High Court, etc.
Well, my practice when it began involved going on a grand tour of all of the most modest county courts in England and Wales. A process that I very much enjoyed, and I succeeded in infuriating pretty much all of the district judges that I came up against. And only being able to restore the position on appeal. And so my long-suffering clients had to be convinced by me each time that this was something we ought to appeal. And I'm sorry that it didn't work out first time, but the district
miscarriages of justice.
The district judge must have just got annoyed. Who can say why? It could have been something to do with my manner, but anyway, what can you do about that? So that sort of really rooted me in the UK. I have done several international arbitrations, including one most recently in Oman, where I enjoyed learning all about the replacement of an entire sector of a city, from the septic tanks that underlay each of the houses to the replacement via a proper flowed sewage system, which is very entertaining, and all sorts of fun witnesses and lots of amusing turns of phrase, and actually a site visit. So you can imagine how enjoyable that was. But for the most part, my work is in the UK. I would say I do a lot of work in the High Court. Both trials and shorter procedures, like something known as Part 8, which is particular points of law that one can get dealt with quite quickly. And every now and again, a trip to the Court of Appeal, although that doesn't happen terribly often for me, because the judges usually get it right first time.
And your manners improved.
Yeah, my manners have improved. So, I've learned to. At least I've tried to be a bit more reasonable and accommodating with tribunals, and they with me, which has been a great journey, one which I've enjoyed enormously. So that's my news.
That's great. Charlie, tell me about how it's going for you and how you're what are you sort of aiming for?
Well, I suppose I'm aiming for a mixture as well, that holy grail of 50-50, if you like. But in the last few years, I've tended to do domestic work and a lot of stuff relating to new home warranties, insurance policies provided for newly constructed buildings and defects claims arising out of those against international insurers. But also some international arbitration work, which tends to be on bigger teams within Chambers, which is another aspect of that work that is fun and you don't necessarily get in other areas of law. In that, on an international arbitration, you can work with 4 or 5 other people in Chambers as a team, and that's fun. From Riyadh to Runcorn, from Derby to Dubai.
Very good.
And these, is this just off the top of the head? It's great.
that was off the top of my head, yeah.
Very impressed. Fab. Elizabeth, I won't do career development for you quite yet, because I think that might be a bit that might be asking a bit much after three months in. But work-life balance, I will ask you about, Elizabeth, because you're obviously in the year that we all remember with. We remember it with trepidation, but also I think most people with a lot of nostalgia as well, because it's a very exciting year as well as a hard work year. And sometimes the combination of it being exciting can lead to it being too much hard work, because you get a bit obsessed. So are you managing a bit of work-life balance? And I promise I won't dob you in or anything if you tell the truth.
So I would say that since we're in December 2020 and we're currently in lockdown, lockdown's being lifted in London tomorrow.
No, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in tier 2. I would say that the work-life balance in some ways has perhaps been easier to achieve than for pupils in other years, because there's a lot of enforced rest, because we are very restricted in what we can do at the moment. So I'm hoping actually that will have instilled some good habits, really making a habit of resting. And
you're walking in as well, aren't you, Elizabeth?
I walk about an hour to and from chambers.
I think that's a really
when it's not raining.
Yeah.
Which is also great. I think when we first started, the other two pupils and I, we had a chance to sit down with a few junior tenants and exercise and rest, and switching off when it's not necessary to be doing the work, with the messages given to us in that day.
Try to call a halt at some point is I think.
Call a halt, yes, and also allow yourself time, I think, to cogitate a bit and allow ideas to have time to settle. And you can't always necessarily do a piece of work all in one.
No, it's amazing the amount of times you wake up in the morning and you know the answer when you didn't know it the night before. That's
or you've ticked off something that is not the answer.
No, exactly. even more important. Hargs, what about you on the sort of work-life balance side?
Well, it's interesting. I must say that when I was a junior, I found myself working very hard and lots of weekends and all the rest of it. But I have to say that as time has gone on, and as you know, I have a family, and you can, if you, I mean, one I always have to remember that one is self-employed, and therefore ultimately the choice is your own as to whether you take on a piece of work, or say to yourself, well, actually, do you know what, I've got quite enough to be getting on with. And of course, one of the flip sides of being self-employed is that people can't resist the other piece of work, and therefore will utilize evenings and weekends in order to do it, because there's nothing quite like a brand new set of papers that someone sent you with a puzzle in there for you to solve. So one can overdo it, and you know, we all provide a good service, but we might find ourselves using up a bit too much of our free time. And in the last I don't know, 10 years or something, I've become quite a bit more reasonable with myself and with my own time, and it is possible in this career to develop the correct balance. Your only enemy is yourself in relation to doing that, you know, assuming that you've got yourself underway and you are attracting instructions and so on. So yeah, it can be done. You just have to try and be self-disciplined.
And Marie, I want to ask you about this as well, because obviously you're staff in Keating, and you obviously have to work with horrible barristers working every hour of the day and night and sending you demanding emails and so on. How do you sort of manage that?
I'm probably quite similar to you guys, as in I really love my job and I find it quite hard to switch off. And I think particularly at home at the moment, which is where I'm working, it is quite hard to not respond to that email. We've got 66 barristers that might all need your time at one point. So I think it takes a lot of resilience sometimes, and mainly actually good relationships with the barristers, which, I mean, I've been here for 5 years, but even members of the team that have only been here for a shorter amount of time, I think there's a lot of opportunity to get those good relationships and be able to say, actually, I've got quite a few commitments on at the moment. Can this wait until tomorrow? Or find somebody else in the team as well that can take that on. It's not easy because it is really busy, and because you want to be able to do everything for everyone, but there are quite a few things in place to help that, I think.
Marie, I can't believe you've only been with us for 5 years.
I know.
It feels like just part of the family. I've been part of the family.
Yeah, it feels like, because you've been running our business development for I've just
5 years.
if someone would have said how long, I would literally have guessed about 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not old enough for that, Simon. I'm not old enough.
No, you started very young. You were a prodigy, a marketing child. Charlie, you got? Can you because you're sort of young family and so on as well.
Yeah, I think it's a learning process. When I first got taken on, I think like Simon was saying, I was probably working longer than I needed to, and you gradually try and work out what your work-life balance is. And as you say, 8 months ago almost, I became a father, and that sort of forces you, particularly in the time of COVID, to reassess how you're doing things and try and make it work so that it fits with all aspects of your life. The long and short of it, I think, is that you're going to be busy if you want to be successful, but that you can control the work that you take on more than you think. I actually tend to get up at 5 o'clock every day and get hefty hours done, but try and stop early in the evening, and I don't work late. So I've been sort of starting at 5, if you like, but then signing off around 5:30 to go and do bath time with my daughter, and that seems to work quite well.
And I think that's a key point about coming to the bar, isn't it? That although you are pushed because you're busy, and as Si says, you want to succeed and you're ambitious and you want to take the next case on, but you can actually decide, well, it suits me to get up super early and work and then knock off early. No one's going to be saying, where are you? Have you checked in? Because we're all self-employed. Right. And there's always those times when you've knocked off on Wednesday afternoon to go to the pub with your friends in Chambers, and then you have to do a Saturday afternoon to make up for it. But there's a deal that I personally am prepared to make. And that takes me neatly on to, it's as if I've planned this in advance, to the social side of Chambers. And I want to start off this discussion by saying that we are, as Elizabeth was saying, in time of COVID at the moment. And the thing that I am missing the most is Chambers. I am missing my friends in Chambers desperately, both from a just going for a drink side and a why can't I have someone to help me with all my cases every day side and tell me what the answer is on a particular contract clause. And in fact, I've had at least one person, I think me and Simon, I've made him talk to me on video calls about what contract clauses mean, and I'm struggling with some case or another. I get so desperate, but just the sort of chatting and the drinks is the thing that I'm missing the most. And so I was going to, Charlie, I'll start with you. Socialness in Chambers. I know, it's an important thing when people are thinking about what Chambers to come to. They need to know that they're going to have a nice time, enjoy themselves.
Yeah, this is a career for your life. If you want it to be, and so it's really crucial that you apply somewhere that you think reflects in its sort of makeup your type of personality. And we are really friendly. I think all sets will say that, but you can just walk across the corridor and knock on Simon's door and say, do you want a cup of tea? Can you tell me the answer to this, please? Or can we go around the corner for a delicious frothy ale? And just knock off a bit early, and it is like that, and we've tried to keep that going through COVID times with virtual drinks on a Friday, which have been great. Although I do long to get back and see people in person, like you say.
Marie, on the social side.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said before, everyone gets on really well. So there's a lot of social parts of Keating that I think Elizabeth won't have actually seen yet. We've got various things that we do as a sideline hobbies, I suppose I'd say. We've got a netball team I'm plugging it because I'm the netball captain, so I want to make sure that everyone knows about it, and because we've won some leagues.
Not that it's about the competition though, Marie.
Well, it is. Yeah, and that's a good mix of it's members of staff, so if it's clerking team, marketing, support staff, the pupils haven't got involved this year, but are welcome to do so. It's a female team, but we also do mixed games with clients as well, so that's really good. There's a chambers band, which I'm not part of, but that has everyone from Marcus Taverner, who is up until a couple of weeks ago the head of chambers, to various members of staff. And again, they've also won. They've won.
Yes, they did, didn't they? Yeah. Hargs, social life and chambers. I mean, I shouldn't really be asking you, because you and I have shared a few social events in chambers, haven't we?
Well, I think there may be a bit of a theme beginning to emerge here, but I think one of our favourite things is to go to the pub, and then to pick up refreshments later on, such as a curry or other things. On the eve of the last lockdown, we managed to find somewhere to eat outdoors with certain colleagues in the heater, because it's very cold, and indulge in a curry. And so you can see how much this is a necessary part of our existence. But there are other things. I mean, we do socialise with our clients, who are primarily solicitors, and in recent years, particularly under Marie's guidance, we've had all sorts of excellent initiatives giving rise to many and varied activities. There's, if I remember correctly, there's a crystal maze thing, which I don't do, but there've been other things like cocktail mixing events, and in the past we've been to sporting events, like the horse racing, and football and rugby and cricket, centenary test match many years ago against South Africa, which is very good. So we at the same time as juggling our work and our families, we socialise both with one another, quite a lot actually, and also with our solicitors and clients as well. Things can be organised through solicitors to take clients out. So it's like any other job actually in that respect, and it's good fun, and there's a good atmosphere around it.
And Elizabeth, you mentioned already that obviously you're doing pupillage in a plague year, so in many ways you're not getting the benefit of our the hand of socialising being reached out. But I just wanted to ask you, because I know that people listening will be interested, to talk about how you're going, how it's working in chambers at the moment for your pupillage.
So we still come in if we want to, the other pupils and I, into chambers. We have the right to do that. I think one thing that people thinking of applying might be interested to know about is the relationship with other pupils. There are 3 of us. I think often you have 3 pupils every year in Keating.
Yeah, we do.
And it was made clear to us also at the beginning of our pupillage, we were really encouraged to get to know each other and spend time with one another. I think that's a very important relationship to have throughout pupillage, is a positive relationship with the other pupils, because we're all on the same steep learning curve. We're all routinely getting new bundles and having no idea what's going on for about 2 or 3 days of reading. So
welcome to the rest of your life.
Well, there we go. Well, there we go. And so at the moment we are all in the building, but we obviously with distancing. So we've had a few Zoom lunches together, which is an incredibly odd situation with Wenjin down the corridor, but I see it on the screen. But I'm obviously looking forward to things hopefully getting back to normal soon. And I've already seen the very, very sociable and very friendly side of chambers in the weeks since starting and before this second lockdown. There was a chance to see that, which is lovely. Yeah.
And then I wanted to just the last thing on my list is talk about marketing, and that's quite an important. It's not something that you necessarily think about when you're thinking about applying, getting pupillage, but when you've got pupillage and then when you get tenancy, marketing yourself in your particular area is really important to success. And so Marie, I was just going to ask you to sort of talk a bit about the marketing, the kind of marketing things we do, and then I'll get the barristers to say a word or two about what they do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the marketing is really quite varied, and what's good about it is that we can adapt that to suit different individuals. There are some that might prefer to do talks, and we have opportunities to give talks at industry events or directly to clients, which is really good. And those speaking opportunities are actually the one thing that probably hasn't died down and might have even increased during lockdown. We've been running a webinar program since April. I think we've done almost 20 of those now in that time, with about 30 different barristers on those as well. And that's a really good example of being able to show your advocacy and how you are on your feet whilst actually just sitting in your chair at home, actually in these cases. So there's that side of it, and then there's the social side of it that Simon was touching on earlier. And we've got, again, quite a varied program of events that suits different seniorities, I think, as well. So it might be client dinners where you get more one-on-one discussion, in Manchester or something, or it could be a juniors party in Dubai where we've got quite a bit of work coming from as well. And there are, from a juniors perspective, just to encourage that, we do have a travel subsidy as well, which is supposed to help fund juniors getting that exposure to clients, both domestically and internationally. So,
and what sort of marketing do you do, Hargs?
Well, I tend to do talks. I enjoy doing talks. It's a good discipline because because you never know what question you might be asked, and therefore it helps you to get across a topic quite thoroughly. Even if in presentation, you got to limit it in time, and you can't present everything that you've learned.
And do you do Keating as well? Do you do the textbook as well?
No, I don't actually. I've always managed to escape doing that.
Always, goodness me, amazing.
I should keep that quiet, but no, but the talks are great because we one of the innovations that we brought about a few years ago was quite a while ago now actually was to not just give talks in London, but actually to get out to other cities and areas of the country. So we've been to Edinburgh, Newcastle, Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, Bristol, so on and so forth, and that's called the Road Show, and that's been really good fun.
Yeah, and we do a similar thing on the international. If you do international work, we go out and do talks in Singapore and Hong Kong and Dubai, and actually I've been to Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro doing talks. That was a very, very important marketing trip that I undertook. Did get some work from Brazil, so that was good. Charlie, do you do any of the textbooks, or are you a talks person?
So I do the textbooks, yeah. Keating, Bullen and Leak, one on electronic disclosure.
Oh wow, well, that sounds really fun.
It was incredibly interesting. I can't tell you how much you should read this book. No, I think you just have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
From talks or dinners to sporting events, which I'm now personally banned from after an unfortunate incident caused by over competition. But it's all up to you what you want to be a part of, really.
Yeah, I do a few academic textbooks and articles and talks. I do the whole range myself. But you're right. And people pick the area as well. You can choose topics that fit with the kind of work you enjoy. So I quite often do energy project related talks and topics because that's a particular area of aspect of construction that I want to develop my practice in. And it works. The work comes in the area that you promote yourself as specialising in. Well, I think that's it. That's pretty much all we've got time for. Thank you very much, everybody.